On January 24, 2023, Ilia Topuria set a record-breaking performance against Josh Emmett. Later that year, he faced off with Alexander Volkanovski, and UFC made it clear he would be the next in line for a title shot.
You wait till you see what happens, eh?
Ever since, Topuria showed very little respect for the champ and started calling for a first-round KO once they enter the cage.
Don't going to be like different with Alex, you know. The rest of this is going to be the same. I'm gonna knock him out in the first round, second round. If not, I'm gonna dominate him for 5 rounds, no problem.
Over time, Topuria's confidence only grew higher, which made people assume he was being delusional. But Volkanovski didn't allow for provocations to get in his head and vowed to show him levels on the night of their fight, or at least he thought so. Over the years, featherweight division has had only 4 champions in total, almost each of whom held the belt for a very long time. And even though being in the company of such great fighters, Volkanovski managed to stand out from the rest. He has been the champion ever since taking the belt of Max Holloway in 2019, and no challenger has come close to taking the belt off him. After beating Holloway for the 3rd time and cleaning out the rest of the division, it seemed like there wasn't much left for Volk, and he moved up in weight to chase the double champ status. However, this was where things turned sideways for him. In 2023, he moved up in weight twice to challenge Islam Makhachev for the lightweight belt, but fell short on both of the attempts. In their first fight, Islam edged him in a very close split decision. But despite losing, many saw it as a victory for Volk, as he went in as a huge underdog and managed to give Makhachev a run for his money for all 5 rounds, something no one was able to do before him. However, in his next attempt at the lightweight title, he accepted the fight on short notice, only 11 days out of the event. Coming into the fight, he didn't have a lot of time to prepare, and certainly wasn't in peak fight shape to go 5 rounds against Makhachev. Unfortunately for him, the bout didn't last long, as he got caught with a head kick very early into the first round and was left unconscious. And even though he had stepped in on short notice to save the card, he already had a fight booked against Ilia Topuria, who was already a huge challenge in itself. Unlike other fighters Volk has faced so far, Topuria was bringing something completely new to the table. He dominated any opponent UFC has put in front of him so far, and has led the wave of a new generation of fighters in the division. As well as the angle from which he approached this fight of disrespecting arguably the best fighter the division has ever had, took people off guard. Topuria's confidence going into this fight was something we haven't seen since the McGregor-Aldo fight, where a challenger was going insanely confident against the dominant champion that hasn't lost in almost a decade. One of the mind games Conor used back then on Aldo was making him feel old, even though Aldo was only 2 years older than him, and in a fighter's prime. He later admitted this was a tactic to put Aldo off his game and get into his head. During the fight week, people noticed Topuria was taking many tactics from the McGregor book to try and get into Volk's head. In this case, Topuria trying to convince Volk that he was too old made more sense as he turned 35 last year. And based on the stats, champions above that age don't do well in lighter divisions. However, Volkanovski decided to play along with the provocations and entertain the character of an old man.
All this talk about the over 35 curse, it's nonsense. So I've let the Sportsbet crew in, shoes off, to prove I'm just as youthful as these whippersnappers.
He recorded a very funny skit of him playing an old man and later showed up at the press conference in the same outfit.
His featherweight title. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Alexander the Great Volkanovski.
People found this hilarious as Topuria was pulling many stunts on him while Volk was just sitting there and pretending he was asleep throughout half of the thing. Another comparison people drew between him and Conor was the amount of time Ilia was seen walking around with Volk's belt. He first took it at the seasonal press after the face-off and started taking pictures of himself with the belt. He then followed to change the bio on his Instagram to the UFC World Champion.
You know, someone's going to have to go onto their bio on their Instagram and change it literally themselves. So what a humbling experience that's going to be. And I'm going to make sure, I don't want the manager, I don't want their trainers or his wife or anything doing it. I want him personally to change that to 14-1 and contender, whatever he's going to change the champion to.
While doing a photo shoot days before the event, he was seen once again walking around with the belt he hadn't won yet, just to provoke Volk further, something we had already seen before.
No drink. Your drink.
You like it?
Yeah, no drink.
It looks good, right?
No, never.
Say goodbye.
Never.
Come get it.
You?
Come get it. Come get it.
Then a couple of days later at the press conference, he pulled a similar stunt to what McGregor did 9 years ago by snatching the belt from Aldo and raising it. Unlike Aldo, who seemed very agitated by McGregor's actions back then, Volk wasn't taking this to heart, or at least he seemed not to. Volk's demeanor wasn't any different from what we are usually used to seeing. He even went along with the provocations and played the character of an old man, and was genuinely enjoying Topuria's efforts to promote the fight.
I don't like it. It's just weird. It doesn't get under my skin or anything like that at all. It just, like I said, I'm sort of happy and thankful. I was like, oh, cheers, you know what I mean? Like, you could do all that, you know, build the hype, say what you want. All I need to do is, again, be that veteran, be that experienced guy that goes out there and just shows you what's up.
However, although unfazed by most of the things, he was quite discontent with the disrespect coming from Topuria. Taking his belt and downplaying his skills didn't sit quite well with him.
The good thing is hype, he's doing all that, like, but it can bite you in the ass, mate, like, you know what I mean? Like, could you imagine what it's going to be like? Because, you know, playing the whole superstar thing and like, look, yeah, I'm going to do this, Conor McGregor, no top guy's going to, you know, just all this sort of stuff, and you go out there and, mate, everyone's going to completely forget about you, man. It's going to hurt. That's going to hurt him a lot. You know, how does he bounce back from that? Again, it's wrong to say lucky punch, but someone catching me, I think that's the only way anyone ever beats me. And that's the case with this one.
Even though Volk believed his skills and experience would be the deciding factor on fight night, he was well aware of the threat Topuria was bringing. However, he wasn't keen on showing it due to blatant disrespect coming from the other side. The fight played out on the feet, where both fighters felt like they would have the competitive advantage over the other. And even though Topuria was calling for a first-round knockout, he was quite hesitant in the first 5 minutes, and it seemed like Volk's jab was causing more problems than he expected. However, only 2 minutes into the second round, Topuria threw a 4-punch combination from which one found its target, and dropped Volkanovski, and all it took was 2 more shots to close up the fight. All of a sudden, the confidence he was coming in with to this fight didn't seem that delusional to people anymore, and he won big by putting all chips on the table before the bout. After the fight, he decided to call out a guy who was obviously a big inspiration in his career to have a fight in Europe at a football stadium.
Waiting for you in Spain.
McGregor responded by saying he has a huge pair, as he's got 4 children so far. Except for their match, many fans were waiting for Dana White to announce the main event for UFC 300, which will now feature a light heavyweight title fight between Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill. Hill hasn't fought since he vacated the belt due to injury, and has been going crazy at fans on Twitter recently, on which I made a video breaking this down that you can watch next.